First Contact and Deception. The massive Korthan warship Celestial Judgment emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Grand Admiral Vexthor stood on the command deck, his 4 eyes narrowing as they focused on the third planet. His scaled skin shifted colors slightly, a sign of mild amusement among his species. Another primitive world, he remarked to his second-in-command, Commander Ixel. Look at their crude satellites and that tiny base on their red planet. Barely worth our attention. The Empire must expand, sir, Ixel replied dutifully. Even lesser species have their uses. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Director Sarah Chen watched multiple holographic displays showing the Korthan vessel. Her cybernetic eye implant was processing data faster than any natural human could, while her organic eye studied the alien ship's design. How long before they detect our quantum grid? She asked the room of operators. They won't, Dr. Marcus Wong replied confidently, his fingers dancing over holographic controls. The metamaterial cloaking is holding. To their sensors, Earth looks like we're barely past the space age, just as planned. Chen nodded, a slight smile playing at her lips. For 30 years, humanity had known this day would come. Their quantum telescopes had watched the Korthan Empire's inexorable expansion across the galaxy. Every conquered species followed the same pattern. Primitive civilizations discovered, given a chance to submit, then overwhelmed by superior technology when they inevitably refused. But humans had used those 30 years well. Signal detected, announced Lieutenant Rivera. They're broadcasting in standard galactic format. The message was typical Korthan arrogance. Submit to imperial rule within 30 days or face conquest. Chen had read similar ultimatums in the archived records of dozens of fallen civilizations. Send the prepared response, she ordered. Make sure it seems appropriately primitive and fearful. On the Celestial Judgment, Vexthor watched the humans reply with satisfaction. Their crude transmission begged for peaceful dialogue, claiming they were a young species eager to learn from their galactic elders. Just like all the others, he commented. Prepare the diplomatic vessel. We'll follow standard conquest protocols. What the Korthans couldn't see was the vast network of quantum satellites hidden in plain sight, disguised as space debris. They missed the massive underground cities that housed humanity's real military forces. Their sensors slid right past the nanotech defense grid that encircled the planet. Most importantly, they didn't notice the thousands of stealth ships already moving into position throughout the solar system, their metamaterial hulls making them completely invisible to Korthan technology. All defense grid sectors report ready, Wong announced. Planetary shield generators are at standby power. Surface evacuation is proceeding exactly as planned. Chen watched the Korthan ship's movements carefully. Everything was proceeding exactly as their simulations had predicted. The aliens saw what they expected to see, a primitive species scrambling in fear, their cities emptying as people fled to the countryside. They're following the standard invasion playbook perfectly, she noted. Begin Phase 2 of Operation Phantom Blade. Across Earth, what looked like panicked evacuation was actually a carefully choreographed military operation. Every civilian vehicle was a disguised weapons platform. Every abandoned building contained automated defense systems. The fleeing populations were moving into hardened underground shelters that doubled as military bases. On Mars, colonists appeared to be shutting down their facilities in terror. In reality, they were powering up the massive rail gun network hidden beneath the red planet's surface. The moon's seemingly abandoned bases were activating weapon systems that would make the Korthans' energy shields look like tissue paper. Director, Rivera called out, the diplomatic vessel is launching from the Celestial Judgment. Chen nodded. Right on schedule. Alert Ambassador Jackson. It's time for his performance. As the Korthan diplomatic shuttle approached Earth orbit, they remained completely unaware that humanity had spent 3 decades preparing for this moment. They didn't realize that every seeming sign of weakness was carefully crafted. They couldn't know that humans had already defeated them. The Korthans just hadn't lost yet. "Send the final coded signal to all commands," Chen ordered. Operation Phantom Blade is now active. Across the solar system, humanity's real military forces watched and waited. The Korthans were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never mistake preparation for primitive behavior. Never assume technological advancement follows a predictable path. And most importantly, never ever underestimate humans. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait for the Korthans to spring it. The art of misdirection. Ambassador Thomas Jackson stood in the Korthan diplomatic vessel's reception chamber, projecting an image of nervous awe that couldn't have been further from his true feelings. His seemingly outdated suit contained more advanced technology than the entire Korthan ship, but they would never know that. High Commander Zexalar towered over him, the Korthan's crystalline scales gleaming under the chamber's lights. "Your species has been granted the honor of peaceful submission to the Empire," the alien announced. "Resist, and you will be conquered like all others before you." Jackson allowed his hands to tremble slightly as he pulled out a primitive data tablet. If I may, we've prepared a presentation about Earth's military capabilities. We hope it will demonstrate our willingness to contribute to the Empire." In the war room beneath Mount Fuji, General Yuki Tanaka watched the diplomatic feed with satisfaction. "The Korthans are buying it completely," she commented to her staff. "Begin powering up the quantum defense grid. Keep it below their detection threshold." Back on the diplomatic vessel, Jackson's presentation showed exactly what the Korthans expected: outdated nuclear weapons, primitive space fighters, and basic energy shields. What they didn't realize was that every image had been carefully crafted to hide humanity's true capabilities. "Pitiful," Zexalar commented to his subordinates in their native tongue, unaware that Jackson's neural implants were translating perfectly. "They're even more primitive than we thought." "We hope for mercy," Jackson stammered in carefully broken galactic standard. "Earth will be honored to join the Empire." As the diplomatic charade continued, humanity's real preparations accelerated. In the asteroid belt, massive mining ships that appeared to be fleeing in panic were actually moving into strategic positions. Their primitive mining lasers were, in fact, quantum-enhanced weapons capable of slicing through Korthan shields like paper. Director Chen's voice came through the quantum comm in Jackson's inner ear. "Phase 3 is ready. The lunar defense grid is powered up but masked. Mars base reports all rail guns are charged and targeting solutions are locked." Jackson acknowledged with a subtle gesture that looked like another nervous tremor. The Korthans were so convinced of their superiority that they didn't even scan him for technology, a mistake that would cost them dearly. "Your species has one planetary rotation to begin the submission process," Zexalar announced. "After that, we will demonstrate the consequences of defiance." In her command center, Chen smiled. "Perfect. They're following the invasion template exactly as our xenopsychologists predicted. Signal all commands. Execute Operation Shadowweb." Across Earth's orbit, thousands of seemingly defunct satellites quietly activated quantum entanglement fields. On the surface, what looked like abandoned military bases began powering up advanced weapon systems that had been completely undetectable until now. The Korthans watched with satisfaction as Earth's primitive defense platforms appeared to power down, a sign of submission, they thought. They didn't realize that each powered-down platform was actually channeling energy into humanity's real defense grid. "The humans are even weaker than our initial scan suggested," Zexalar reported to the Celestial Judgment. "They'll surrender without a fight." Jackson was escorted back to his primitive shuttle, maintaining his facade of nervous submission until the last moment. As soon as he was aboard, the shuttle's quantum drives, hidden beneath a shell of outdated chemical rockets, activated. "Ambassador clear," he reported. "They didn't detect any of our technology. Operation Shadowweb is proceeding exactly as planned." In her command center, Chen watched the Korthan vessels positioning themselves for what they thought would be a simple show of force. Their fleet was arranging itself in their standard invasion pattern, a formation that humanity had studied and prepared counters for over decades. All commands. Chen broadcast through the quantum network. Execute final preparation phases. Remember, let them think they're in control until the very last moment. Beneath the surface of Mars, Colonel Diana Martinez watched her tactical display as the Corthan fleet moved into position. Her railgun batteries were charged and ready, their targeting systems linked through quantum entanglement to ensure perfect coordination. "Almost there," she whispered. "Just a little closer." The Corthans never noticed that Earth's moon had shifted its position by a fraction of a degree, bringing its hidden weapon systems into perfect firing position. They didn't realize that what they thought was a crude planetary defense network was actually a web of quantum-linked weapon platforms that would tear their fleet apart. Most importantly, they had no idea that humans had spent 30 years preparing specifically for this moment, studying every aspect of Corthan technology and developing countermeasures they never imagined possible. "All forces on standby," Chen ordered. "Wait for them to commit to the attack. Let them think they've won until it's too late to retreat." The trap was almost ready. Soon, the Corthan Empire would learn why it was a mistake to underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation and deception. The storm breaks. The Corthan invasion fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect attack formation, 500 warships strong. Grand Admiral Vexthor stood proudly on his command deck, watching Earth's seemingly defenseless surface through the tactical display. "Begin the standard conquest protocol," he ordered. "Target their primitive defense platforms first." That's when everything went wrong. The moon, which had appeared dead and lifeless to Corthan scans, suddenly erupted with energy signatures unlike anything they'd ever encountered. Thousands of quantum-linked weapon platforms emerged from hidden bunkers across the lunar surface, their metamaterial cloaking falling away like water. "Impossible." Vexthor roared as his tactical display exploded with warnings. "Their technology level." The rest of his words were lost as the first wave of humanity's counterattack struck. The quantum weapons didn't just penetrate Corthan shields, they ignored them completely, passing through as if they didn't exist. In her Rocky Mountain Command Center, Director Chen watched the battle unfold. "Execute Phase 4, she ordered calmly. "Colonel Martinez, you may begin the Mars offensive." Beneath the red planet's surface, Martinez grinned as she gave the command. "All batteries, fire at will." The Corthan fleet, already reeling from the lunar attack, suddenly found itself caught in a devastating crossfire. Rail guns hidden beneath Mars' surface launched projectiles at velocities approaching light speed, each one carrying a payload of quantum-entangled antimatter. "Status report," Vexthor demanded as his flagship shuddered under another impact. "My lord, we're detecting weapons fire from everywhere," his tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice. "The asteroids. They're not asteroids at all." What the Corthans had dismissed as scattered mining operations in the asteroid belt revealed themselves to be carefully positioned weapon platforms. Each mining ship was actually a stealth destroyer, their hulls composed of metamaterials that had made them completely invisible to Corthan sensors. "Launch fighters," Vexthor ordered. "Begin planetary bombardment. Show these primitives the price of resistance." But as the Corthan fighters launched, they encountered another surprise. The space around Earth, which had appeared empty to their scans, was actually filled with a complex web of quantum fields. As the fighters entered these fields, their control systems went haywire. "Now," Chen ordered, "activate the Phantom Fleet." Across the solar system, thousands of advanced human warships dropped their cloaking fields. Unlike the crude chemical rockets the Corthans had observed, these vessels were powered by zero-point energy drives and armed with weapons that represented the true pinnacle of human military technology. "Sir," Vexthor's sensor officer cried out, "the humans. Their ships are appearing everywhere. They're using some kind of phase technology we've never seen before." The Corthan formation, designed to overwhelm primitive planetary defenses, now found itself surrounded and under attack from all directions. Human ships seemed to phase in and out of normal space, making them impossible to target effectively. This was a trap. Vexthor realized too late. They wanted us to think they were primitive. They wanted us to attack. In orbit around Earth, what the Korthans had dismissed as primitive satellites revealed their true nature. Each one was actually a node in a vast quantum defense network. As the network activated, it created a series of overlapping fields that began to disrupt the Korthan ship's energy systems. All commands. Chen broadcast. Execute final attack pattern. Show them exactly what humanity is capable of. The human counterattack was unlike anything the Korthan Empire had encountered in its 1,000 years of conquest. Every piece of seemingly primitive technology concealed advanced weapons. Every apparent weakness was actually a carefully laid trap. "My lord," Vexthor's second-in-command reported, "we're losing ships faster than I can count. Their weapons, they're not just advanced, they're specifically designed to counter our technology." The admiral watched in horror as another wave of quantum weapons tore through his fleet. The humans hadn't just prepared for this battle. They had spent decades studying Korthan technology, developing countermeasures for every weapon and tactic in the Imperial arsenal. "All ships, retreat," Vexthor finally ordered. "Fall back tow." His words were cut off as a quantum torpedo phased through his flagship's shields and detonated inside the engine core. The celestial judgment, pride of the Korthan fleet, erupted in a spectacular explosion. "Target their hyperspace vectors," Chen ordered. "Don't let them escape to warn the Empire." Not yet. The battle was no longer a battle. It was a rout. The mighty Korthan invasion fleet, which had never known defeat, was being systematically destroyed by the very primitives they had come to conquer. And humanity was just getting started. Turning the tide. The remnants of the once proud Korthan fleet scattered across the solar system, their perfect formation shattered, their confidence broken. But humanity wasn't finished teaching them their final lesson. "Begin Phase 5, Director Chen ordered. "Show them why we let a few ships survive." Across the solar system, human vessels began a precise, coordinated pursuit, not to destroy the remaining Korthan ships, but to herd them exactly where humanity wanted them. "They're running straight for the Jupiter defense grid," Colonel Martinez reported from Mars Command. Exactly as predicted. What the Korthans saw as a clear escape route was actually humanity's most elaborate trap. As the fleeing vessels approached Jupiter, the gas giant's dozens of moons suddenly revealed their true nature. Each one contained massive gravity generators, technology the Korthans had thought impossible for centuries. "Gravitational web activated," reported Dr. Wang. "They're caught." The fleeing Korthan ships found themselves trapped in an artificial gravity well, their engines powerless against forces they didn't understand. Then, from the shadows of Jupiter's moons, emerged humanity's true capital ships. These weren't the small destroyers that had ambushed the invasion fleet. These were massive vessels, each one powered by artificial singularities, their hulls constructed of materials that defied the laws of physics as the Korthans understood them. "This is Director Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," her voice transmitted across all frequencies. "Your fleet is defeated. Your invasion has failed. Now, you will carry our message back to your empire." On the bridge of his crippled vessel, Commander Ixel, now the highest-ranking surviving Korthan officer, watched in horror as the human ships took up position around his trapped fleet. Their sensors were finally showing the true extent of human technology, and it was beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. "Impossible," he whispered. "You're supposed to be primitives. Your civilization is barely space-capable." Chen's laugh echoed through the communication channels. "Did you really think humanity would survive this long by being predictable? We saw you coming 30 years ago. We watched every invasion, studied every conquest. We learned your weaknesses while showing you exactly what you expected to see." The human ships began projecting holograms, massive displays showing the true extent of Earth's defenses, underground cities that housed billions, quantum manufacturing facilities that could produce advanced weapons at impossible speeds, training facilities where humans had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. But why? Ixel demanded. Why hide all this? Because, Chen replied, we wanted you to attack. We needed to show the galaxy exactly what happens when you threaten humanity. And now you're going to help us deliver that message. The gravity web shifted, creating a clear path back to Corthan space. But before the surviving ships could power up their engines, they received one final transmission, a massive data package detailing everything humanity had held back. Their true military capabilities, their advanced technology, their ability to hide entire planetary defense systems in plain sight. Let your empire know. Chen's voice carried a note of cold finality. That humanity is not to be trifled with. We could have destroyed your entire fleet. Instead, we chose to let you live, to serve as a warning. The next alien force that enters our solar system with hostile intent won't receive such mercy. The surviving Corthan ships fled, their databases now carrying proof of humanity's true power. As they vanished into hyperspace, Chen turned to her command staff. Begin Phase 6, she ordered. Now that we've revealed ourselves, we need to prepare for what comes next. Across Earth, hidden facilities began emerging from their camouflage. The quantum defense grid fully activated, its true capabilities finally visible to any watching eyes. On Mars, massive cities rose from beneath the surface, their technologies far beyond anything the Corthans had imagined possible. Do you think they'll return? Martins asked over the quantum link. No, Chen replied, studying the tactical displays. The Empire will send diplomats next time. They'll want to know how we advanced so quickly, how we hid so much. They'll want our technology. She smiled, watching as Earth's true face was finally revealed to the galaxy. But most importantly, they'll want to know why we let them survive. And that fear, the fear of what humanity is truly capable of, will keep the peace better than any weapon. The solar system settled into a new normal, humanity's power finally unveiled. The message had been sent, written in the wreckage of the Corthan fleet. Earth was not a primitive world to be conquered. It was a sleeping giant that had finally chosen to wake up. And the galaxy would never be the same. Victory and warning. 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations gathered to discuss one topic: humanity's sudden emergence as a major power. The Corthan delegation sat quietly, their usual arrogance replaced by a haunted look. The data they'd brought back had shaken the foundations of their empire. It wasn't just the military defeat, it was the realization that humans had orchestrated every moment of it. Director Chen stood before the council, her presence commanding attention without effort. Behind her, Ambassador Jackson watched with carefully hidden amusement as the alien representatives tried to process what they were seeing. For centuries, Chen began, humanity watched the stars. We saw empires rise and fall. We witnessed species that reached for the stars, only to be conquered and subjugated. We learned from every victory and every defeat, not our own, but yours. Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing Earth's true capabilities. Underground cities that housed advanced manufacturing facilities. Quantum technology that the Corthans had thought impossible. Training academies where humans had prepared for every possible form of interstellar combat. You all thought technological advancement followed a predictable path, Chen continued. That species would reveal their capabilities as soon as they developed them. That pride would drive them to display their achievements. She gestured, and the displays showed how Earth had hidden its true nature. Quantum fields that masked energy signatures, metamaterials that bent light and sensor readings, an entire civilization's worth of advanced technology, hidden in plain sight. Humanity chose a different path. We advanced in secret. We prepared in silence. We turned deception itself into an art form. In the audience, a Corthan scientist was frantically analyzing the technical data. "This is impossible," he muttered. Their quantum manipulation technologies alone are centuries ahead of our projections. No, Chen corrected. We're exactly where we chose to be. Every advancement, every discovery, was carefully hidden until we needed it. We didn't just prepare for war, we prepared to win it decisively. The council chamber erupted in overlapping questions. How had humans advanced so quickly? Why reveal themselves now? What were their intentions toward the wider galaxy? Chen raised a hand for silence. We come with an offer and a warning. The offer is peaceful cooperation, technology exchange, trade, cultural contact, all the benefits of galactic civilization. Her voice hardened slightly. The warning is simpler. Earth's solar system is now officially a restricted zone. Any military vessel entering our space without explicit permission will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. The Corthan delegation shifted uncomfortably, remembering how their mighty fleet had been systematically dismantled by weapons they still didn't understand. But surely, a council member began, with your technology, you could expand. We don't want your territory, Chen interrupted. We don't want conquests or an empire. We want to be left alone to develop at our own pace, to explore the stars on our terms. Consider what happened to the Corthan fleet, a demonstration of what happens when that wish is ignored. Ambassador Jackson stepped forward, his diplomatic training hiding his satisfaction at the Council's reaction. Earth is opening diplomatic relations with all peaceful species. Our embassies will be established within standard lunar cycles. But remember, we revealed only what we chose to reveal during the battle. There's much more humanity is capable of. The message was clear. Don't make us show you the rest. As the council session concluded, Chen and Jackson prepared to return to Earth. The quantum transport would have them home in seconds, another capability that had shocked the galactic community. They'll test us, Jackson noted quietly. Some species won't be able to resist probing our defenses. Chen smiled. Let them try. Humanity spent 30 years preparing for the Corthans. We've spent the last 3 months preparing for everyone else. Back on Earth, life continued as normal. Cities that had appeared abandoned now thrived openly, their advanced technology no longer hidden. The quantum defense grid pulsed quietly, protecting the solar system more effectively than any fleet. In her Rocky Mountain Command Center, Chen looked at the latest reports. Other species were already adjusting their policies toward Earth, moving from conquest plans to diplomatic initiatives. Fear was doing its job. Begin Phase 7, she ordered. Now that we've shown them what happens when humanity is threatened, let's show them what happens when humanity is befriended. Across the solar system, research facilities began preparing to release carefully selected technological innovations, gifts to prove that humanity could be as generous in peace as they were terrible in war. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had emerged from its self-imposed shadows, revealing not just advanced technology, but a new way of thinking about civilization and power. They had proved that true strength lay not in displaying power, but in knowing when and how to use it. The message had been sent, received, and understood. Humanity was ready for the galaxy. The question now was the galaxy ready for humanity?